what was happening as a result of that bombing was strontium-90, which doesn't exist in nature, was being absorbed into our bodies. It was being released in mother's milk and cow's milk, and it being absorbed into the bones and teeth of the babies because it mimics calcium. It's on the same column in the periodic table. And so people were really concerned about this. Dr. Benjamin Spock was writing about it at the time, the famous pediatrician. And that was on top of course, the horrors of the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The captain of this boat in 1958 had resigned his commission right after the dropping of those bombs, a month before he could have retired from the Navy.
Wow.
Yeah, so he gave up his retirement pay. And then also, these families, these Quaker families had been sponsoring the Hiroshima maidens in their homes.
Where were they from, these Quakers? Where did they?
They were, I think they were from the Philadelphia meeting, but I'm not positive.
You're all based back east.
And Long Island, and so it's kind of a regional effort. Why they chose to, well, they chose to leave out of San Pedro because I guess that's where the boat was delivered to after it had been built in Costa Rica. But a lot of people knew the Bigelow family, the Willoughby family, the not so much Orion Sherwood, but mostly the Willoughbys and the Bigelows. So they were pretty. They made a big stink about this nuclear bombing, and so after having tried to publicize this horrendous activity that the U.S. was doing, and the strontium-90, and trying to get this bombing stopped by talking to Congress, talking to the president, letters to the editor, op-eds, everything, they just said, we've done all we can this way. We have no choice but to do Gandhian, direct action, civil disobedience, nonviolence. So they got the boat, and they were trying to go to the Marshall Islands to put their lives in danger. And they made it as far as Hawaii while they were en route between San Pedro and Hawaii. There was a AEC regulation passed saying that no U.S. citizens should enter the testing zone. And after they'd resupplied, they started out for the Marshall Islands. The Coast Guard caught them, arrested them, brought them back. While Bigelow was in jail, Willoughby and James Peck, who you might know from War Resisters League and from the Freedom Riders, joined the crew. He and Willoughby and another one or two crew people headed out again. They all got arrested and brought back. And while these guys were either in jail or waiting for hearings to happen and stuff, the Phoenix of Hiroshima was docked nearby. Dr. Earl Reynolds, who had been studying the effects of radiation on children in Hiroshima for 3 years, had purchased a 50-foot boat, the Phoenix. Or actually, he had it built. He designed it and had it built. 50-foot sailboat. They'd gone 50,000 miles all around the world in it, and they were in Honolulu at the same dock as Golden Rule at the same time. They'd heard about these crazy guys, and didn't really think that they were sane. But as they sort of got more and more involved with the Golden Rule, her crew had dinner with the crew. His wife, Barbara, said, we have to go. We have to go to the Marshall Islands. We have to do what they were going to do. So they took on some equipment and supplies as just a passing of the baton and headed out.
Really? How long was that trip?
Well, this boat spent 24 days getting to Hawaii, and I think it's about the same distance from Honolulu to the Marshall Islands.
Oh, okay.
So they did manage to enter the testing zone. Earl Reynolds was arrested. They were allowed to stay on the boat and sail under protest back to Honolulu. There weren't huge consequences for Dr. Reynolds because that law was basically illegal to get in the way of the normal laws of the high seas. So he didn't have to really suffer any consequences of it. And then, so then later the Phoenix also sailed to the USSR to try to get in the way of their atmospheric testing. Even later, Dr. Reynolds sailed this boat into Haiphong Harbor in the middle of the Vietnam War. So this boat had, not this boat, the Phoenix was, you know, they changed. They had not been activists, but they changed. So when the Phoenix was in Honolulu, on board were Barbara and Earl's daughter Jessica and son Ted, and a Japanese guy from Hiroshima, a crewman. And Jessica's been doing presentations with us. She lives in Long Beach, yeah. So, I mean, for me, she's really special because I had just found out about the Phoenix by reading Bigelow's book, The Voyage of the Golden Rule. And so I was thinking about, well, I wonder if this 14-year-old girl is still around. You know, what ever happened to her? So I just did a search for Jessica Reynolds on the web, and eventually I found an old blog of hers that she hadn't written in a couple of years, and I, you know, did fill out the contact form on it. And you know, I thought, well, this is kind of hopeless or whatever. And about a month later, she sent me an email. And she says, yeah, you know, I'm that person. And I was just like practically crying because of like just reading Bigelow's book and this whole moral conviction, you know, a whole chapter on why am I doing this? You know, why are we going? And the whole struggle. I mean, he didn't want to do this, but he had to. You know? And then after meeting Jessica, we had George Willoughby, the first mate's daughter, has been with us, and other like descendants of the original crew.
Oh, yeah.
And then right before we launched her into the water after 5 years of reconstruction, Orion Sherwood shows up, the youngest member of the original crew. So when Golden Rule left San Pedro the first time, she got caught in a storm, and there was equipment broken, and a guy got so sick he almost died. But so when David Gale got off the ship, Orion Sherwood joined and was on the voyage to Honolulu. And so he's had such a fun time. He came to the launch party when we first put her back in the water. And then he came to the VFP convention in San Diego.
Oh, you were down there. You sailed down there.
Yeah.
Oh, how wonderful.
Yeah, so we put her in the water June 20th, and we sailed out of Humboldt Bay July 23rd. And I mean, another thing that just like gets me is when I was chosen to be a crew person.
Oh.
I was like, this whole project just totally grabbed me.
Oh.
And I started giving my life to it. Like, I don't do anything else right now.
Oh.
In February, and I just sort of gave myself to it. And then when I found out I was even being considered for crew, I was just floored. And And I thought, well, you know, I don't need to do that. You know, they'll find somebody else, I'm sure. But they really wanted a woman, and they wanted a member of Veterans for Peace.
Is there like a board
Yeah,
that runs?
yeah.
Overall?
It's we call it a committee, but it's a board of directors,
Uh-huh.
and we meet at least monthly.
You're a nonprofit organization.
So we are a national project of Veterans for Peace, and we're under their 501c3 umbrella.
Okay.
So yeah, we are. And we're fulfilling the Veterans for Peace mission of getting nuclear weapons abolished. And our VFP Nuclear Abolition Working Group has been like not doing all that much, but so this is like a huge thing. And the Nuclear Abolition Group, our mission statement, you know, is everything having to do with radiation. We're against it. The only possible thing, good thing of taking uranium out of the ground that we can think of is there's a certain amount of nuclear medicine that goes on. But for the most part, we can live without it, all of it. So this is just like near and dear to me. I started the Nuclear Abolition Working Group, and there was not enough enthusiasm for the working groups in general, and so it kind of died except for its Facebook page. And that was long before I heard of it. And, you know, it's just been an incredible journey.